second group, which was supposed to be. Actually, it was still supposed to be AM, yeah. So this is the only one they kept. We're not muted, by the way. Test, test. I can still hear myself.
Logo. Oh, that is an old logo.
Wait, I can hear myself, so. No.
soon, whatever.
Good evening, Style Esports fans. Welcome to Style Esports Season 3. We have a battle in the Ionian group this evening between Imperial Knights Blue and the Syndicate, one of our better-known teams around here in Style Esports. I am bringing you the action. I'm Jarl Carl, joined by Axeman87. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing just great, Carl. And, I always love me watching some of the Syndicate series. I always like watching that team. And tonight they're up against the Imperial Knight Blue team. So it's a very good team as well. This is shaping up to be a shootout.
Yeah, should be a good one. The Imperial Knights, one of those newer teams here, Style Esports, in Season 3, up against those old favorites, the Season 1 champions in the Syndicate, and one of our favorite teams here on the caster desk, known for their willingness to fight at all times. So should be seeing a lot of fighting from them, and the Knights are so far undefeated in Season 3 here, so Syndicate looking to hand them their first loss, and the Knights trying to keep that undefeated streak alive as we are now into Champion Select. This was a pro-drafted game, so we should be going through these picks reasonably quickly here. Definitely some champs that want to fight already in the top lane, Jace versus Gnar.
Yeah, and not to be outdone, the Syndicate only dropped one game so far this season to the Sand Ninjas, who Imperial Knights have not yet played, I don't think. Pretty sure they just played Royal Griffin so far and then had 2 buys as well. So we'll see if that loss is more on the Syndicate side and more just the Sand Ninjas being a solid team here tonight. Definitely looking to see which of these teams is going to start making their way to the top of the bracket. But so far in the picks and bans, got a couple spicy ones for you. Jace coming through from the Syndicate. Haven't seen Jace in a while, Carl, so that ought to be exciting. I know there's a couple changes to, first and foremost, marksman items. I think that might play into how you build Jace a little bit. There's also a lot of changes recently, and in Season 2 at large, the different bruiser items that Jace can take advantage of. I know recently Sanguine Blade got buffed too. Not sure if that's standard on Jace, but definitely factors into how you might build the champion. So we'll see what Toxic Vein takes on Jace here tonight. He's up against Gnar, though, another champion we haven't seen too much of so far in Season 10. But again, some recent buffs as well, so maybe not the Gnar we've seen in the past.
Absolutely, a lot of recent buffs coming through to a lot of these champions, and I think both teams kind of shunning the tank meta that we've seen come through recently. Set, the only real tank that has been picked up thus far, and Set in the jungle, not something we see every day. It definitely does have some merit, though. I have seen it a few times, but a little bit tanky. Obviously, has that haymaker shield, so not a champion you want to be focusing a ton of fire on because he's just going to return it immediately. But not a whole lot of tankiness on either of these teams. I think it leaves it a little bit more open for snowballing, right? If one team gets ahead, gets those items coming through, they're just going to be able to snowball through the game and kind of end it pretty quickly. But yeah, a lot of damage coming out. I would expect, fighting across the map, especially because it's the Syndicate and the Imperial Knights. These teams love to fight. I think we're in for a bloodbath. Yeah,
absolutely. And just picked up by Equinox is going to be Azir. We've seen a lot of champions work with Senna down the bot lane in that fasting Senna sort of play style, but I don't think I've seen Azir yet, but it makes a lot of sense. I mean, Azir likes to farm up and likes to scale into the late game, so if there's going to be somebody farming, why not, right? I mean, now you have 2 late game scaling hyper carries. My only concern would be Azir could be pretty hard to play if you don't have a lot of games on him, so my expectation would be that Equinox is an accomplished Azir player. If not, it's going to be a difficult game for him.
Likely so. I would expect that they have practiced this quite a bit. It's not something you really just pull out at the drop of a hat, right? Even Senna support in general, not something that you want to see, kind of, oh, that sounds fun, let's do that, guys. You'd hope that there's a little bit more practice, and everything we've seen from the Imperial Knights so far would suggest that they are quite a practice team. So I think we will see at least a little bit of coordination coming through for them. They'll be up against that Ezreal Morgana lane. Very, very safe lane. Hard to have any safer of a lane, you have to feel. In the bot lane, just scaling really well, able to farm out, can take fights if they want to. It's a pretty versatile lane, so I think the Syndicate bot lane shouldn't be at all at a huge disadvantage here. Maybe at a little bit of a poke disadvantage. Senna, with the Glacial Augment can do a lot of poke from, seemingly the other side of the map. And Azir with those Sand Soldiers, a little bit easier than Ezreal since the Sand Soldiers are not blocked by the creeps, that, even enhanced by the creeps, right? So something to watch out for in the bot lane is who can kind of get the lead in that poke and then maybe call their jungler down. And maybe even a roam coming in from Sai in the mid lane. Nico, not a great roamer, but if LeBlanc's able to get the shove in, definitely could roam to either of those side lanes and try to pick up a kill for herself. So definitely early game presence by both of these teams. Should be willing to fight. I would say a little bit more on the side of the Imperial Knights. Ezreal, Kane, more in the style of scaling up and fighting later, as opposed to those early game junglers. Set does a lot of damage early. LeBlanc can blow people up right at level 6. Shrima Shuffle coming through for the Azir. So I think early game pressure will go in favor of the Imperial Knights, although the Syndicate definitely have scaling chances as well.
Yeah, they have a lot of scaling in both sides, like you mentioned, have a ton of damage, right? I mean, the only even kind of pseudo tank coming through is Imperial Knights Set, and I have a hard time calling Juggernauts like Set tanks. They do a lot of damage in their own right. They don't just stand there and tank damage. They're not meat shields, so just so much damage coming through on both sides of the aisle. I think early game or late game, there's just going to be a lot of fighting. It's going to be difficult not to. I mean, there's just so many aspects of all these champions that are basically, rewarding them for fighting other champions, especially Kane. He needs those stacks to be able to transform, so he's going to be trying to fight. That's going to drag him into lanes. Couple other things as well, but something else I wanted to point out is in this Azir Senna lane is that the Azir has actually been being played by the ADC. Equinox is playing Azir, right? So if they're doing fasting Senna, normally you'd still have Senna on your ADC. So maybe this is just Senna support, and this is like actually Azir carry. Not too sure what the difference is. I guess the only difference is really like who's playing the champions, but and I'm not even really sure if that's a worthwhile or a worth noting difference. But I figured it would point it out. It is Equinox playing Azir.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out. I don't think there's a huge amount of difference between that, just kind of what the people are comfortable on. And Senna support, is what the champion is designed to do, right? And so I think this is it's interesting when it's weird for us to see her in her, prescribed role here, but I think we will just see her supportive style, maybe go a little bit more supporty in the item build. A lot of times it is just lethality, especially against a team with 0 tanks. I would expect to see that build still come through. So I think Saber in the bot lane just going to be going for that, damage build just as the support role. Nothing too crazy down there. But I think the Imperial Knights team overall, if they're going to win this game, I think they really want to come off really strong early on in the game, try to get a couple of dragons while the Kane and the Ezreal are still weak. Because Nico can't, really get somebody off a dragon all by herself. Before the Kane's transformed, he's just not going to be able to stand up to these Imperial Knights members. And so I think for that side of the coin, they really want to get a couple of dragons early and try to snowball the lead that way. Whereas the Syndicate maybe want to scale a little bit later, try not to get too far behind, maybe have Jason a side lane. He has that teleport we've seen. Right now they have double teleport, kind of play a more macro style and just wait the game out a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. And we talked a lot about the bottom lane, but maybe not so much about this top lane, which has the potential to be volatile, right? I mean, you have both champions who are kind of transformation champions, both melee and range, different points of the game. So there is that potential where we have maybe a short-term melee matchup suddenly become ranged, which is going to lead to a whole shootout. You also have a couple junglers that would just love to gank, especially in the top lane. Xavian has some issues with setup, but also issues with damage as well in the early game. Kane has a lot of trouble with most things. Is not an early game champion, so being able to get up there with Toxic Vein is definitely going to help them out. Jace providing a lot of both, right? Damage and setup as well. So that's definitely a good lane for them to gank, but it is interesting that while both of the champions in the top lane are both melee and range, their melee forms are kind of like not optional, right? I mean, at some point, Narja stacks up and you're going to change. And at some point, Jace is going to run out of mana. He's going to have to switch to Hammer form to build the mana back up. So it really just kind of managing those factors and managing those transformations is really going to give either side the success in this game.
Could be an interesting time. It's definitely an interesting dynamic up there in the top lane. These champions kind of switching back and forth. There's kind of like 4 different ways this lane can go, right? So we'll see how that works out. I want to point out the Dark Harvest Keystone on Xavian here has decided to go for that. I think that indicates more of that Shadow Assassin style as opposed to the Conqueror, which we would typically see on a Kane that's trying to go Rost for that red form. A bit more healing and more sustained fighting, which I think makes sense in this game, right? We pointed out 50 times already, there are no tanks really on the side of the Imperial Knights. So I think that that Shadow Assassin form is probably a little bit more rewarding for him in this game. If he gets behind, it could just kind of be more of a flop, right? Than that Rost maybe a little bit more safe. So we'll see if he's able to get ahead or at least stay on curve. They do have some deep vision, so they will have vision on Cypher Soul here. In the early game, that should help out the Syndicate a little bit as we mentioned a little bit, they do want to just kind of sustain this early game out and try to not get too far behind. So I like that Keystone choice by Xavian. Everything else looking pretty standard. Cleanse in the bot lane for Saber to try to get out of those bindings.
Yeah, definitely. No leash coming through for Xavian. They are going to be soloing those wolves. Kane, one of the champions, is probably fine doing that, so not too big a deal there. They're going to be looking for the Raptors here in a little bit, and then maybe picking up red. Pretty standard Kane start there, but we'll see if it kind of makes any difference when it comes to this Scuttle battle set. Normally a champion that wants to also take 3 camps, but he got a leash, right? So he's maybe a little bit ahead of the curve here, but even as I say that, Xavian seems to be taking those camps pretty quickly.
Yeah, he's zooming through the jungle there. Almost has his 3rd camp completed, set just finishing off that 2nd one. So definitely a pretty healthy clear there for Xavian. Kane does clear relatively well, so he's going to be doing just fine for himself. Has just collected that red buff moving up toward the Krug. So it looks like both junglers going for a mostly full clear as we get a little bit of poking in the bot lane, but jungler's not interested in any, cheese level 2, level 3 ganks. Looks like they're going to be kind of going for the full clear, maybe back and get a jungle item before they decide to go for the gank or end up going toe-to-toe there as Psy missing out on the chain in the mid lane, but everyone just kind of farming it up and trading so far.
Yeah, definitely. And you were mentioning that Cypher Soul was full clearing, and I was going to stop you and say he only took 3 camps, but now it looks like he's full clearing, which is a little strange to me. I figured he would just get level 3 and then maybe look for a gank, but apparently not. I guess he is gonna keep clearing those camps slowly but surely. But yeah, kind of factoring that why he's doing these a little slower than Kane. Kane probably just clears better than him, but he was also hitting the single target camps, the Grops and the buffs as well. Those are big camps. They're hard to take. Kane didn't take his blue at the time, so he was just taking the smaller camps. So maybe had more camps, but overall less experience. We'll see how it plays out here. And Cypher Soul actually picking up the Scuttle basically for free. I mean, no contest there, but really, I think it's just Xavian comes on top, just keeps clearing these camps, and now he's looking for the gank.
He's walking bot side. I think Cypher Soul got a little bit ahead off of that crab play, like we were mentioning a bunch of times. Xavian just not really able to fight this early in the game, so he's going to have to back himself away from any confrontation. We did see in the mid lane, Psy force the flash out of Enderfire, landing a nice chain on him. Has that ignite, which we do have to note up against a teleport of Enderfire, so no real way for that fight to happen. But Xavian has decided to go for that gank, walking in here onto Saber. Lands to slow, a nice E to try to get Saber out. The heal expended as well. Saber walks to safety, but a nice pushback there by the jungler of the Syndicate.
Oh, here's a point for you, Carl. Unless Xavian is fighting Cypher Soul or Gnar in melee form, he literally cannot go Rost unless he just waits out the timer. Everybody else is ranged. So
unlucky.
Any of these ganks he goes for, he's going to be stacking up the range procs. Doesn't necessarily mean he has to go Shadow Assassin, but having to wait 3 minutes, I believe it is, to change into Ross is going to be real rough for him. I mean, that doesn't feel good at all. You want to transform as soon as possible. You mentioned earlier that it might be good to go Shadow Assassin. I would agree. There's a lot of squishy targets on the enemy team that are ripe for assassination. It is difficult, though, because when you look at his own team, not a whole lot of front line, right? So you have a ripe opportunity to just go Rost and tank up and kind of become your team's front line matching Cypher Soul, which could be equally as valuable depending on how these lanes go. But to be honest, given that everybody is ranged here at this point, I think we're going to see Shadow Assassin.
I think we will too. I think that just waiting the timer just feels so bad at this point. He is already a little bit behind, I would say. Maybe not actually. They're equal in camps, but he is spotted out now, so he might go over this play. But he's just hatching a ward there. He's going to toss himself a recall in and back himself off. I do want to mention briefly that Enderfire in the mid lane might actually be about to get killed. That was not what I was going to say, but Enderfire goes down for first blood. Psy picking up that kill. The mid laner, rough time. He's ahead in farm was the point I was going to make. But he has been forced to flash and then forced to sit in Dre's screen for a while. Taken down for first blood.
Yep, Psy hits level 6 and executes enemy laner immediately. But we do have that first dragon up. Now Cypher Soul already beating it down, beating me to the punch for sure. And kind of illustrating how Imperial Knights have really been dominating this vision game. I mean, they had the control ward on the objective. They also had a myriad of stealth wards all over the jungle, a couple top lane, and also a few bot side that just despawned. But, all in all, really dominating the vision across the map. we'll see if they can keep it up.
Early game control, like we talked about in Champ Select, very important for the Imperial Knights to get, and they have gotten it so far, right? They have the kill in the mid lane, pressure in the bot lane, they're up about a dozen in the CS, pressure in the top lane, about the same lead, jungle, early game jungler. So they have capitalized on that first dragon. I want to see them continue this tempo. They have a lot of tempo, they have a lot of vision. I want to see them keep playing on the front foot, keep trying to get advantages for themselves to try to hold back the scaling of the Syndicate. If they can shut this Ezreal down for longer in the game, they're going to be very well served later in the game. And the same with Xavian, right? He's barely been able to hit anybody, barely been able to get any any of the way towards his upgraded form. So hoping to keep him down, and they're doing very well for themselves so far. Cybersoul should pick up this red buff. Just nothing there for the Kayn to pick up.
All right, Carl, we've only seen a little bit of it so far, but is Azir Senna, is it meta now? Is this the bot lane meta?
Maybe. I mean, mages in the bot lane, right, have been popular for a while now, and they're definitely good, right? And Azir more marksman-like than most. So I think they're doing really well for themselves, especially against lanes that can't engage, right? There's no Nautilus, there's no Thresh, there's no Blitzcrank, and so the Azir can kind of just farm up pretty safely. And, Azir, his mid-game fight is so strong. His mid-game spike, rather, gets a couple of items, and he's well on his way to getting there already, and there's just less danger than in the mid lane. In the mid lane, speaking of it, Sai gonna get stunned up by that Pop Blossom. Enderfire barely able to get himself out. Once again, Ignite was not quite up for Sai as he goes in for another kill.
Yeah, and something I don't think we've acknowledged yet is just how killer of a flex pick this Azir was. I mean, it's obvious we've talked about how the matchup might go and everything, but just in draft phase, the idea that the Syndicate might think that the Azir was going mid, and really, who could blame them? I mean, where else would the Azir? Oh, Toxic Bane going down there. Oh, wow, that's not a good sign, right? Cyphersoul picks up that gank, very well done, but back to my point, who could blame them for thinking Azir was going mid? Not with this pick alone. They got themselves a killer mid lane matchup for this LeBlanc, but also got a bot lane that apparently is doing just fine, right? It's not like they dropped a whole lot to pick Azir and put it in the bot lane. They haven't thrown the lane or anything. They're actually doing really well. So this is a killer flex pick.
Yeah, for sure. I think really well done by this team, and just a great resource to have in the draft, right? To be able to flex the Azir down bot lane with the Senna. I think great creativity for them as we see the Herald now get picked up by Cyphersoul, their second major objective so far. But it's just doing really well for itself, and I think it really is that it's just a very safe lane. Ezreal has no real way to engage, and sure, Morgana can land a binding, right? But it's really hard to kill somebody off of a binding, especially if you are Ezreal. There's no, Caitlyn trap, you can't put that down. There's no, Draven just running in for the kill, and so it's basically a free lane unless they get ganked, and they have the early game jungler. So I think a great game plan so far by the Imperial Knights, able to stack up on the Senna pretty safely in the bot lane, able to farm up on the Azir, and they've basically been under no pressure. They're up 15 CS, and they're just doing really well for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. The Kayn pick is certainly playing into the success of the Azir here, but that's enough of that. We did see that that Rift Herald go down just now to Cyphersoul, who's been absolutely dominant with the objectives thus far. Kind of really leaning into that set early game there. Oh, Enderfire might now actually just gets rooted, but nothing.
Xavian going in, and the bot lane has the ultimate available. Saber trying to get himself out, gets slowed up. True Shot Rush comes through, a heal to keep him alive. Tosser, there's the flash. Emperor's Divide, but it did not quite land for Equinox. A little bit unfortunate there. Not quite enough range. Gank doesn't quite work out.
Yeah, definitely. That's an important cooldown for him as well. And it is going to be Cyphersoul just dropping the Rift Herald up in the top lane. And he gets so much gold out of this one. Demolish proc's going to come through as well. 4 plates going over to the IK top side of the map. The jungler in the top lane. That's wild. That's so much gold, Carl. But take a look at the gold differential just in the top lane alone is 800 right now. In the jungle position, 750. That's huge, right? I mean, that's practically the gold difference between these two teams is up in the top side of the map. And they haven't dropped dragons for it either, right? They still have the game's only dragon. So this has just been a crazy performance from Cyphersoul so far.
Absolutely, just ripping through the jungle, and there's just not a whole lot Xavian can do. I don't think there's a lot of places to find fault with his performance. At least to my mind, he's been farming up, tried to go for a couple ganks, forced the flashes in the bot lane a couple of times, but just has been, essentially just out stat checked by the set, right? He's going and he just can't fight him wherever he goes. And so Cyphersoul's had the free reign of the jungle. He's up a couple of camps. He's gotten the dragon, gotten a herald, able to use it top, and he's just not throwing away dragons because his bot lane has priority, right? The Azir Senna is never going to give away a dragon. Sai in the mid lane has priority too. And so this early game comp is really coming to fruition here for the Knights. Toxic Bane's out of mana in the top lane, getting pushed in. he's down a bunch of farm. There's just nothing he can do against this Gnar.
Yeah, definitely. And this is a very dangerous position for Xavi and really the rest of the Syndicate to be in right now, because we get to see the gold levels. They do not. There's not a whole lot letting them in on the secret that Cypher Soul is this far ahead. The guy's got like 10 CS on Xavian and an assist, right? Based on that alone, I would say, yeah, maybe I can 1v1 Cypher Soul. Not at all. He's got 2 dragons, he's got 4 platings, and he's got the Rift Herald down. That's so much gold.
Too. There's the flash in. Pop Blossom going to come on. The Syndicate do want to fight this. Sai able to get himself up for a little while. He's going to be taken down. Xavian soon to follow as well. Enterfire tries to throw out another root. Is going to land that. There's a nice stopwatch by Saber to keep himself alive. Cypher still going to pick up the kill onto Enterfire. Tell a lie, actually. Another stopwatch coming through. The teleport has come through. Stolen Waffle is now on the scene. OTGG trying to run himself away from this, but it might not be enough. Uses the flash. Is able to survive for a bit longer, and he does get himself out. In the end, though, 2 for 1 in favor of the Imperial Knights.
Yeah, and really in favor of Cypher Soul, too. Now the scoreline on the set, 201. Definitely not a secret anymore how powerful this set is. He's got the Cinder Hull completed. Also has Boots of Speed here, Carl. That's real creepy for a Juggernaut to pick up Boots of Speed. That, to me, says they don't care. They don't think anybody can kill them anymore. They just want to run at you as fast as possible. But, oh, Saber going down to the True Shot barrage. That's very well played by Pure Salt on that one. And yeah, it just gets a little too close, eats up too much of that damage. We're starting to see the Ezreal scale already here into that late game monster. Ezreal hit that power spike with the Mana Immune too. Maybe going for a Triforce next. Not 100% on that one. Does have Conqueror as the keystone.
I would assume
maybe,
so.
Yeah, maybe looking for a Triforce. I've seen it build different ways in recent times though, so we'll have to check back on that one. But yeah, this is gonna be a real scary Ezreal. Not to be outdone though. I mean, Azir's looking pretty good too. Take a look at the gold differential between the two, and yeah, just 300. So you know, a modest gold lead between 2 champions, 2 roles on Summoner's Rift, but not insane, right? I mean, you've seen a lot worse, and Azir definitely a scaling champion. So this game definitely isn't over yet. I feel like the lane might be coming to a close, though. I feel like Ezreal, Pure Salt, and OTGG might be getting close to winning this one.
Absolutely. I want to continue talking about that Ezreal build a little bit. I would say the Trinity Force is the standard that I have seen in these last couple of months as an AD carry player. I think it's just significantly better. The Conqueror, you have more spells coming through. So I would expect to see the Trinity Force come through. And I think the Mana Immune is just a really underappreciated power spike for Ezreal. You know, we saw Saber try to go in and just kind of get blown up by Pure Salt, landed all the abilities. So just something to watch out for in your games. That Mana Immune Ezreal is pretty scary. As we might see a fight here. Xavian trying to go in, just not quite able to land the damage he was looking for, and that play kind of peters out as the push in the bot lane does continue.
Yep. Can't get plates anymore, though. Those dropped 30 seconds ago. Unlucky for Saber and Equinox, so they aren't going to get as much gold as they would have had earlier, which is pretty rough up the top lane. I don't think we mentioned. Stolen Waffle did eventually get that turret. Believe that happened a while back, though, so not news or anything like that. Toxic Vein at this point just trying to defend the inner turret, but Cypher Soul might be looking for a gank here, Carl.
Might see a party here in the bot lane. Xavian might find him out in the wall. There they go. There's the Shurima Shuffle comes through. OTGG trying to do his best as well. Nice route going down onto Equinox. He's going to go very low. He's going to be taken out straight away on this one. Xavian able to get himself out of that Umbral Trespass. The teleport did come through as well there for the Syndicate. Saber going very low. He should be able to keep himself alive. No, the flash and the Q coming forward from Pure Salt. A nice binding as well. Going to go down onto the LeBlanc. Sai very low on this situation. He's going to go down as well. It's a triple kill for Pure Salt. Maybe continuing under the tower. Cypher Soul down to half HP. Pure Salt and OTGG still standing, and a great play by them, turning around that gank by the Imperial Knights.
Yeah, very well played indeed, but I don't think we pointed this out yet. Xavian has transformed into Shadow Assassin Kane. I'm not sure if that happened recently or maybe a couple minutes ago, but he's definitely got it now, so that solves that mystery. That set's still pretty far behind Cypher Soul at this point. The set's just really far ahead, but now that he has the assassination, Stolen Waffle, taking a little bit of damage, but he's got the transformation coming through.
He's fine.
So, yeah, he'll be just fine. Mega Gnar does not play around and does not take nothing from nobody, but that's going to be Xavian walking away, tail between their legs.
Absolutely. Stolen Waffle now kind of just being the mid laner. Usually you'll see that top laner in a side lane, but he's just chilling for a little while. Gonna go for a recall for himself on this one, backing himself away. But Pure Salt, the main beneficiary of that last fight, almost has the Trinity Force completed. Needs about 1,000 more gold for that, and he is going to be very strong very soon. He's pretty much, we talked about they need that scaling. He's the saving grace for this team, and he's getting closer to it at this point. 4-0, has all the kills in his team. He's going to be the main carry of this team. We'll just see if he's able to get online in time, at least for this dragon, up in just 10 seconds now. Wouldn't be too surprised to see the Syndicate give this dragon, actually, just and wait for that Trinity Force to be completed. We'll see what they decide to do, but Pure Salt is not quite strong enough yet, at least in my view.
Yeah, I think you got to hit 20 minutes before you really think a scaling champion is online. I mean, you can get super fed, but at some point you just kind of need the levels, and that just takes time. You would need like an insane amount of kills to really have the levels needed to really get into your late game scaling form. But we do have a few champions on Summer's Rift here tonight, the Nico and also the Senna, that have that keystone. Oh goodness, what is it called? Glacial Augment. And I just wanted to point out Enderfire has since completed Hextech GLP, so that could definitely come into play for these team fights along with the Pop Blossom too. But Saber has that keystone as well. I don't think they have an active item though.
Xavian in the wall. Soul and Waffle going to go forward. There's a huge Gnar going to come through. And the ultimate from Senna as well comes across. Huge wombo combos trying to be executed here by the Imperial Knights. Might be going for just a bit of disengage there with that ultimate from Azir, as that fight just kind of peters out as fast as it did start. 2 for 2 so far as the teams look to re-engage. Members very low on both sides. Sai going to try to go forward. Picks up the kill onto Enderfire. Has to flash away from the bubble. Pure Salt going to try to go forward for a bit more. Saber has to flash himself away. Equinox also fighting in the back line. He's going to go down at the end of that one. I do believe, yes, he did fall. Pure Salt godlike now. Looking for the other members, though, as they just kind of ring around the rosy around each other in the end. 4 for 3, I do believe.
All right, Carl. So I got a kind of a query for you here. If the goal is to land your ultimate, your big team fight ultimate onto enemy champions, the Syndicate did very well there. How do you think they did as far as extracting value from their ultimates? Because in my mind, not so great. That Gnar hit like basically every member of Imperial Knights. I don't think any of them actually made contact with the wall though, so I'm not sure how important that was.
Had a few stuns coming through. The Gnar is on the side of Imperial Knights, so I believe we flipped the teams around there a little bit there, Mr. Axeman.
Yeah, definitely.
That is okay. Dragon being started up, though. We're going to hold that thought for later. There is the Hex Flash coming through. Teleports coming through as well. Cypherstone and Stolen Waffle, the only members around their team now backing them up. Dragon going to go in favor of the Syndicate, as that fight also just doesn't materialize. Everybody backs away. Syndicate grab the Dragon.
Yeah, you're right. I was talking, I had the teams mixed up. I was talking about the Imperial Knights, because I also want to point out with Equinox as well. We saw the Ember's Divide come through. It hit a lot of people, but I'm not really sure it did what they wanted it to. So it was kind of the situation where it was like, well, we hit a lot of people, but we didn't do what we needed to do with the ultimates. And I think that kind of played into why maybe they didn't have such a good fight. I believe they did win that one, though. I'm not...
Pure Salt got more kills, but in the numbers-wise, they did win.
Yeah, gotcha. So kind of back and forth on that one. And that next dragon... Oh, here we go.
Misses the chain on Xavian. Pretty unfortunate. Cybersoul just kind of drags him out of the wall, though. Umbral Trespass has come through. Cybersoul maybe going for a bit more than he bargained for here. Bind goes a little bit wide, and he just walks himself off to safety. Nico, actually, Enderfire could be finding Equinox here in the bottom. This could be interesting if the tower goes down. He puts up one of his own. There is that turret going to be summoned. Enderfire maybe not sure about his situation here. He walks himself off. In the end, nobody dies, but a bit of trading across the map.
Yeah, turning their towers into our towers. That's a funny one there. Enderfire not anticipating that one, but now it's Stolen Waffle, just kind of holding here in the mid lane. Hit a couple power spikes so far. Looks to be trying to go for, oh goodness, Frozen Mallet, I believe is the item they're building with the Jarm's Fist. I haven't built Frozen Mallet in a very long time, so I might be wrong about that one, but I'm pretty sure once they have the Giant's Belt,
I think you're right.
Frozen Mallet, so that'll be coming through in a little bit. Already had the Black Cleaver too. Black Cleavers all around, actually, is Toxic Vein and Cypher Soul also have the item. Very popular right now, especially if you're a bruiser or Jace, but yeah, so those power spikes are coming through as well. And yes, figured I'd point it out. Got a lot of vision coming through here from the Syndicate. A lot of good close vision as well. A lot of good control wards. Not a whole lot of control over the objective bits, right? That Baron basically blind for the Syndicate. Meanwhile, IK does have a couple far wards out. Some of the deep vision that they need to start getting control over the Baron pit.
Yeah, absolutely. IK with a nice little area of control over the Baron. Not anything you'd really call control, as there is a control ward for the Syndicate on the Baron, keeping an eye on the Imperial Knights. I don't think we're in that much risk of seeing a Baron anytime soon. There's no AD carry, traditional marksman, I should say, on the Imperial Knights. And so, while the Azir can definitely do the Baron reasonably quickly, it's just not as fast as, like a Rageblade user or a Bork user. So I think the Baron will be a little bit delayed for the Knights this far. So their early game momentum has been stalled a little bit. Losing that third dragon in the way that they did and not really able to rush down a Baron or even pressure it a whole lot, I think is kind of raining on their parade. So the Syndicate doing pretty well to get back in this game. Again, it's only Pure Salt. At this point, Xavian might find himself in a bit of trouble, as I say that. Able to get himself away, I do believe. Here's the fight kind of fizzles out. But yeah, Syndicate, basically all their eggs are in the Pure Salt basket.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to check and see how many those souls that Senna has accrued so far. Looking like 63 here.
It's a lot of souls.
It's a lot of souls. I feel like you probably in days gone by have more souls, but they definitely nerfed the hell out of that a couple times. So maybe that's a normal amount. I'll be honest, I'm not really sure how many Senna is supposed to have anymore.
Yeah, well, 63 sounds like a big number to me, so we're going to roll with that one. Pure Salt has finished off that Trinity Force a few minutes ago. We didn't really mention that, but that's been completed. Has another Vampiric Scepter as well, building into that. Blade of the Ruined King, I would certainly expect. That's the main item to go. There's a chance we'll see him go Gunblade, and Tell a Lie, as he buys again, has that recurve bow. So he's going to be going for that Blade of the Ruined King. I thought maybe the Gunblade, because he's not against any tanks, right? So a little bit more burst damage might have been good, but besides against it, and no fault there, the Bork is still a very, very strong item for him. So he is, basically, if he can pop off in these team fights, I think they can win fights. But if he gets picked off at all, burst, knocked up, CC'd at all, I think they just don't have the damage to win these fights.
Yeah, definitely. There's just at this point, I feel like they really needed Equinox to be on at least a similar or comparable level. Oh, here we go. Oh, Psy
going pretty low. Umbral Trespass, I think in the clone. That was the clone. Making up for his mistakes, though. Flashing forward for the kill. Dawning Shadow, not enough from Saber to save his teammate. Psy goes down, and that's control over the Baron, or the Dragon Axe, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Dragon coming up in 10 seconds now. And really, I think a big takeaway here is Imperial Knights can't trade back Baron. I mean, A, they have the control ward, the Syndicate does, on the Baron pit right now, so they definitely know if they pulled it off. B, they're not in the area, and C, I don't know if they have the damage to take it as much, or at least as quickly as the Syndicate is taking this Dragon, and they already got it. Pretty wild, by the way. If they pick up this Dragon Soul, they'll have 4 Mountain Dragons. And we mentioned a big weakness of this team now that they have, oh, here we go, Pure Salt absolutely destroying Equinox there, who had a good Emperor's Divide, but that Arcane Shift does not make things easy. Not easy to lock down the Ezreal there. So despite getting shoved under tower, immediately Arcane shifts out of the way, and Equinox put even further behind now.
Absolutely. Did have to use the Flash, Pure Salt, so not completely without cause for them. He is that main carry, so he needs to stay safe on this team. So that Flash, I think, could end up being big. We'll have to watch for that in the upcoming team fights. He'll be able to heal off this mid wave. And we've talked about how the Baron is quite slow for Imperial Knights. On the side of the Syndicate, it's anything but slow. They just don't really have a tank, so that's also a little bit hard. It's hard to tank up that Baron for too long, although especially once this Blade of the Ruined King comes through, Ezreal will clean up this Baron very, very quickly, so that's something to watch for, as well as Stolen Waffle just going to be walking himself out very slowly there. Some ghosties on him, but he gets himself away from that situation. OTGG and Pure Salt rotated into the mid. They're going to be clearing up these waves.
Yeah, and back to my point I was making earlier that it's kind of wild how the dragons have broken out, that IK was able to pick up the 2 dragons, because now if the Syndicate get the Dragon Soul, they'll have 4 Mountain Dragons, and that's going to almost completely cover their lack of frontline, right? I mean, they have so many resistances. OTG might go down here.
Binding, not going to land. Tries to flash himself out, but he is going to fall. Dawning Shadow dodged away from, but it did force him in one direction. He's taken out. Xavian could be in trouble here. Cypher Soul might be looking to stop him with a bit of a showstopper. Nice sidestep on that W from Kane, but Not anything gonna land there. Pure Salt gonna get hit with the Senna W. I don't think anything else will come of him. Yeah, Arcane Shift himself away. So he's gonna be okay. Red buff going to be lost, however, and a lot of vision control in this top jungle going the way of the Imperial Knights.
Definitely, and I'd like to see Cypher Soul start transitioning away from maybe some of the more bruiser juggernaut tactics, and maybe start trying to play a little bit more peel for their carries, or at least somebody, right? Because while Cypher Soul is very, very strong right now, he can't 1v5. He needs somebody to help him, and as it stands, the rest of his teammates are getting deleted by the enemy team. So at some point, I'd just like to see him group, maybe not go off by themselves so much, and just try to peel for somebody at this point. I'm not really sure who, but just pick somebody and say, all right, you're the carry. I think it still has to be Equinox, but Equinox is so far behind at this point, especially when compared to Pure Salt, that I'm not sure that's still a valid strategy. So maybe Cypher Soul just keeps power farming and then tries to hard carry this game.
Azir, I think, is still a valid target. He just completed the Rabadon's death cap a few minutes ago, so he's at a pretty good power spike, regardless of where he is compared to Pure Salt, who I think is without question the strongest champion on the map. So I think you still want to put the eggs in the Equinox basket, at least for the most part. If you need to, I don't mind the power farming a ton, at least thus far. I would like to see him group a little bit more, especially in preparation for this next dragon. I don't think you want to give a third one of these dragons over to the Syndicate, giving some much needed tankiness and kind of just flipping the script on the dragons, right? It looked like it was going to be pretty clear Imperial Knights dragon. Earlier on in this game, Saber, some nice jukes. Can he get away a bit more? Uses the flash. We might see a True Shot Barrage come through in the wrong direction from Pure Salt, just going for a bit of style. Points on that one, but the flash expended from the Senna.
Oh, here we go. Waffle looking for the kill on Toxic Vein, the bot lane.
Gnar into the wall. Toxic Vein should be okay. Yeah, just kind of knocks him away. I think he'll just walk himself out. I don't think he's in any danger of dying here. He will go low, but yeah, he's going to get himself away. But still a lot of pressure, right, gained in the bot lane for the Imperial Knights to kind of trade back the pressure in the mid.
Certainly, and by the way, Bramble Vest picked up for the Gnar as well. Actually going to be completing the Thorn Mail too. They do have the Warden's Mail in the inventory, so they're going to build the whole item, which is maybe a little bit less expected, but it really seems like they're kind of going full front line on this Gnar here. Kind of a maybe a little bit of an on-hit front line with the Frozen Mallet and Black Cleaver as well. So that's kind of where they're going with the Gnar. So they're going to have essentially a front line where maybe they wouldn't have one because of itemization. So they're definitely winning out in the front line perspective. But like I mentioned, I mean, those mountain drags are going to essentially work as a front line for the Syndicate. So front lines maybe matched up here. Oh,
Cypher Soul's been found out, but who's really catching who here? Size arrived on the scene as well. Under fire pretty low, but that might have been just the clone I was getting bamboozled by. Gets rooted up, and more heals rolling through. Cypher Soul very low. True Shot Barrage comes through. That's enough to finally take him down. Pure Salt legendary now, picking up his 8th kill.
Yeah, and that just kind of plays back into my earlier point that Cypher Soul very strong, can't 1v5, right? I mean, there's just too much damage from the Syndicate. Too much lockdown as well. I mean, Dark Binding alone is going to hold you in place long enough for the rest of the team to delete you. That's just kind of how the ratio is working at this point. Even things like Pop Blossom can hold you in place long enough for them to burn that health bar down. Equinox looking for the dragon here. Probably going to be able to pick it up too.
Yeah, just kind of goes over there. Picked up by the Imperial Knights. That's their 3rd dragon of the game. So we could be going the full distance here on dragons, going for that 6th of the game. Might see 7, but we'll see. We'll see what happens in just a couple more minutes. 4 minutes, 45 seconds till that next dragon comes up. Don't go anywhere. As the Syndicate kind of just got a kill and then didn't contest the dragon, right? Maybe I just didn't feel confident to walk in, even in a 5 versus 4 situation. No jungler available either. Cypher Soul had been the one taken out, but just didn't feel confident, able to give away that 3rd dragon. Maybe they don't really feel like the Soul is a win condition for them, and they do back away. I would expect to see a little more pressure around the Baron now that we have kind of a lull in the dragon stacking. For just a couple of minutes, I would expect to see these teams move over towards the Baron, as both of these teams can probably actually burn it down at this point.
Yeah, definitely. And the critical point, just to build on yours, is that, well, yeah, they had just killed Cypher Soul. They used a lot of cooldowns to do it, right? I mean, True Shot Barrage, Pop Blossom came into play there, Kane Ultimate as well. Those are some pretty big team fight cooldowns, right? That makes it very difficult for the team to team fight without. So I think they probably still could have contested Dragon there. I mean, it was just Equinox and then I think Psy in the area, so they probably could have done it, yeah. But I don't blame them for being hesitant. They didn't have a whole lot of their resources available. And critically as well, Pure Salt didn't have flash. You mentioned that Pure Salt is like literally the syndicate right now. When your carry doesn't have flash, it gets really dicey.
Absolutely. We have gone into a bit of a pause. We're hearing that the support seems to have DC'd from the Imperial Knights. So hopefully Saber will be back here with us in just a couple of minutes, but it gives us a little bit of time to kind of take stock of the game. Just expanding on that point still a little bit more there, Axeman. It's just, I think just because it wasn't the sole point, I think the Syndicate was just kind of saying, we don't want to throw this like little bit of respite we've gotten ourselves. Let's push out some waves. Let's try to get some more farm. Let's get a few more items coming through, and then we'll fight for that next dragon. So I think a reasonable choice for them, especially if they do want to focus more towards the Baron, just not willing to throw away a fight. And especially if you lose a fight at this point in the game, you probably lose the Baron as well. And so I think just a little bit too risky for them to take, especially without any of those ultimates, like you just said.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree. I feel like while you have to make sure that you're not letting Equinox and Saber scale or outscale you, and you have to make sure you stay on top of that. No one's outscaling Pure Salt, right? Not for the time being, not for the foreseeable future. A lot of things in this game would have to change for Equinox to suddenly make some kind of come from behind. Like we're talking like pentakill level upsets for the Azir to suddenly lap Pure Salt in terms of scaling. So yeah, I mean it's really their game to lose, and playing safely. Yeah, I completely understand it, especially when you're going to game one, right? I mean, if you win game one, this is a really underappreciated fact. When you win game one, you're literally on sudden death for like the rest of the series, right? I mean, they have to beat you 2 times in a row before they take the series. That's difficult to do. So yeah, playing game one out super slowly, I think is probably a good idea.
Definitely do agree. And there's just that mental edge of being up 1-0, feeling like you won that first game. So might see OTGG get blown off the map here. Predictions coming true. He's taking out Saber, picking up that 1 kill. Umbral Trespass has come through. Xavian trying to get himself away. Has the flash if he doesn't need it. He should be able to get himself out. Starts the red buff up there. That might be contested, though. A little bit more here as that engagement does come through. Xavian has to flash himself away from that. Red buff goes over towards Cypher Soul. Pure Salt getting denied.
That's a rough one, having to burn flash outside of an objective fight or outside of a team fight like that, especially when you're Shadow Assassin Kayn, right? I mean, target access is your whole deal, and flash is a huge tool you can use to kind of achieve your goals there. Now it's IK starting up the Baron, and yeah, Ender fires on the other side of the map. Does have teleport, though. Here we go, Toxic Vein going in for the little fight. We'll see if they're able to finish off the Baron in time.
This Baron might just be gone, Axeman. We'll see how this goes. It looks like they are going to pull off it a little bit. Xavian was able to regain a little bit of control in this area, so OTGG back on the map as well. Do want to point out Xavian, Pure Salt, and Toxic Vein still without Flash. Flash is available across the board almost for the Imperial Knights. Hex Flash on that set, almost just as good, right? So those summoners are available. We'll see if Pure Salt's able to keep himself safe. Saber with a nice dodge. Could have died there, but gets himself out. Tower goes down in the bot lane as Gnar just continues his slow march toward the base.
Yep, he's going to be going back. He does have a considerable amount of gold in his pockets. 2,300 gold. That's going to be enough to almost get him a whole nother item. Be interesting to see what he goes for now that he's really tanked up in a big way. We'll see if he maybe stays the course or goes for something a little bit more damage-oriented, like a Bork or something like that. But I would imagine just kind of sticking to your guns and building maybe something with more resistances. Stone plate.
There it is.
Stone plate. Yeah. Because up till now it's been all health items and Thornmail. So now he's got a little bit of MR on there and is able to stack up the resistances, which just plays directly into these mountain dragons.
Absolutely, and just what they need him to do on this team, right? He kind of needs to be that front line along with Cypher Soul. We saw how long it takes Cypher Soul to get taken out, right? We saw, 3 or 4 ultimates expended to kill him as well. Is Stolen Waffle going forward here? He's very tanky, like we've just been talking about. He's not going down anytime soon. Toxic Vein, more on the receiving end. Dawning Shadow comes down, more of as an afterthought. Didn't really achieve a whole lot. Gnar is available here. There's the stun into the wall. Toxic Vein going very low. Stolen Waffle trying to do his best to just kind of 1v4. Picks up the 1 kill. His team has arrived as well. He gets rooted up, but he's still only half HP on this one. He's going to get bound. There's the Stone Plate, finally. Umbral Chest Pass into him, just tickling his back here. Equinox is here, Cypher Soul's here. Everyone is here from the Imperial Knights. This is going to turn into a 5 versus 4 pretty quickly here. Stolen Waffle still able to go forward. Saber with a nice cleanse to keep himself alive. There is the Sanya coming through. Enderfire going to be taken out of this one. Xavian tries to pick up a kill, but Saber with a nice flash. Those flashes we talked about are coming in huge for the Imperial Knights, picking up another kill in this fight. They are now winning this one 3-0. Cypher Soul still walking forward. OTGG forced to flash away. All the summoners have been blown on the Syndicate. 3-0 at the end of that fight. They peel toward the Baron.
Yeah, they certainly do. And Nard just absolutely massive now. I mean, the scoreline maybe not as impressive as some of his teammates, but he really only has the one death, and that's making all the difference. He's got the XP, Carl. He's level 18 now, and that is really what is causing the Nard to be so impactful in these fights. He just has those inherent stats related to the levels. So he's far and ahead of basically everybody on the map. Even Pure Salt is just level 15. So 3 levels behind the Gnar, who has been absolutely just hard farming, I guess, off screen or something. I really didn't notice this, but he's hitting like 300 CS now, something ADCs aren't even hitting. So doing very, very well for themselves indeed. And now that's going to be Dragon Soul for Imperial Knights here. That Mountain Soul is coming through. We said it might be a way for the Syndicate to kind of cover the weaknesses of their comp. Now it's going to be their, like, inflating that weakness that they don't have a front line, because not only is the front line for IK absolutely unkillable at this point in both Set and the Gnar, Stolen Waffle and Cypher Soul, so are some of the carries. I mean, that shield is pretty nuts. There are resistances coming through on some of the carries. Zonya's on the Azir. That armor is going to be inflated by the Mountain Dragons. Also going to have shields on them from the Mountain Soul as well. So things just got very, very bad for the Syndicate. But Sai just kind of just running in there. Maybe didn't see the Syndicate or something. But
who knows?
Gets deleted on that one.
Yeah, he just kind of gets wiped off the map there. Pretty unfortunate. I was going to mention Pure Salt's completed his Bloodthirster. I don't know how much of a fan I am of this build. Would have liked to see an Armor Shred item come through for him instead of that BT, or maybe even some resistances for himself. I think the BT just a little bit too much damage focused and not really enough to get through the tank line, because he is the only way these tanks are ever going to die, right? So we'll see what he decides to go. Has that Executioner's Calling for likely that last item, but might have liked to see that come through a little bit earlier, and those items are a little cheaper as well. So we'll see if that tank line does make a whole lot of difference. Pure Salt, once again, without Flash, so that's something to watch for in those fights. OTGG going to get pulled in. He's going to get taken out. And not the situation he wanted to find himself in. Is Stolen Waffle's just pushing in the top lane, and he seems to be doing pretty well for himself here.
I mean, he's
walking forward. Yeah, I don't really know how you're supposed to stop him right now. Dawning Shadow comes across for even more of a shield. He goes forward, Gnar into the wall. Pure Salt not going to get stunned up. Gets stunned up this time by that W. And Stolen Waffle literally does not take damage at this point. He's popped the Stone Plate. There's the engage by Cypher Soul. So Showstopper, I should say, back into the fight. Brought the Pop Blossom with him, excuse me. Enderfire, though, going to find himself falling after that Blossom had gone out. Emerald Chest Pass inside Saber. He's going to not find a whole lot here. They are just too tanky at this point. Pure Salt tries to get Derek and chipped away, but he's going to be going down as well, as it's just Xavian, Toxic Fan, and OTGG, and a couple seconds left to defend. What can they do? I don't think a whole lot. The Nexus Tower is under fire. The second one as well, and the Imperial Knights with a great game plan. They got ahead early. They snowballed it through the game. They take game one. They're up 1-0 over the Syndicate.
Yeah, and in the draft phase, I really would say that this game leaned towards the Imperial Knights. But man, when this game hit like 15 minutes, I thought the Syndicate had it in the bag. This was an 8-0 Pure Salt on Ezreal. Just absolutely massive. They had 2 dragons, were looking to have the map pressure, be able to take the Dragon Soul. And then at some point, just through a lot of great macro plays, IK just came back and just totally took the game away. Stolen Waffle scaled, and I don't think we talked about that the whole time. The Gnar could scale as well, scale into this late game, and he absolutely outscaled everybody. And Equinox as well did very well in this game. But yeah, I really didn't think IK would take this one, but here they are with an incredible draft and a really killer late game.
The Gnar really turning into just a monster in that game. He got so far ahead, had so much farm, so much experience on himself, and the Jace pick really fell flat for me. I think that was definitely the weak point of the Syndicate draft. It just wasn't able to do anything. You know, there's so many memes about NA Jace, right? And I think kind of this is why, because he's not really able to team fight. He can't really stand up for himself in a side lane. He just can't do anything essentially in this game, and he basically had no impact in this game. You know, nothing against Toxic Vayne or the Syndicate as a team. Obviously, the pick just doesn't really do a whole lot in this team. I think you want something like a Maokai, like an Orange, something maybe buff up Pure Salt, keep him alive a little bit longer. And so I think the comp didn't really know what it wanted to do here for the Syndicate, and I hope they address that for the second game.
Definitely, just to kind of, I don't know, maybe help him out a little bit. I think one of the biggest things that didn't go in the Syndicate's favor this game was that once they picked Kayn, literally the rest of the picks from IK were ranged, like almost drop of the hat. They're just like, okay, cool, you're going to be blue Kayn. Didn't do as well as he would have normally. If the map wasn't a mountain map, that was like really bad for Shadow Assassin Kayn, right? Because even the squishies in this game had tons of resistances and at some point even had massive shields. That doesn't help him out. But also because Cypher Soul and Stolen Waffle completely itemized him out of the game. I mean, they went full frontline, right? So they not only could he not go Ross, but he had to be Shadow Assassin Kayn dealing with like the biggest tanks ever.
Yeah, absolutely. Just didn't quite work out for the Jace there. But that's going to do it for us for game number 1. We're going to throw it to a short break. We'll be back right after this with game number 2 here between the Imperial Knights Blue and the Syndicate. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a few. Welcome back, everybody, to game number 2 here between the Imperial Knights and the Syndicate. We're hopping straight into Champion Select here. Another pro-drafted game, essentially, so the picks will be coming through, hopefully at an expeditious rate here. I'm Jarl Carl, joined once again by X-Men87. How's it going?
I'm doing just fine. I'm excited for this draft. It was a lot of moving parts in last game's draft, and I think a lot of it really had a huge impact on the game. So this really could be, where either of these teams drops the game and where the Syndicate in particular drop the series if they don't have a good draft here. So we'll kind of break this down for you as we go forward. Cassiopeia, Vladimir picked up already two kind of very hot button solo laners, but it looks like both of them going top lane. A little strange, more so for Cassiopeia and Vladimir, but we've seen them both top in the past, so not too weird. And going to be some tankier junglers coming through this time, more so Zach than Hecarim, but Hecarim not a small champion by any stretch of the imagination. Definitely has the potential to tank up. So already more balanced comps coming through, I think, with these tanks. But we'll see how the draft progresses.
Absolutely. Cassio top. We were not sure ourselves where these champs were going. I think you'll see a little bit more once the bot lanes are revealed here. Interesting comp coming through for the Syndicate. The Annie picked up in the mid lane, something I want to touch on just a little bit. Has received a few buffs kind of in recent patches. Maybe it's getting a little bit more sleeper strong here. So we'll see how well it does for the Syndicate here as she is onto the Rift now. Pretty basic champion, right? A lot of point and click, a lot of just burst damage. Very frustrating champion to play against. So we'll see if she's able to frustrate the Imperial Knights coming into this game, and something I'm noticing, a lot of magic damage on the top side, X-Men.
Yeah, definitely, from both teams, right? I mean, there's a lot of magic damage, so we're expecting some physical to come through, a little bit of physical, a little bit used loosely from Ezreal, and a whole lot of physical damage coming through from Yasuo as well. Interesting to see these support picks. Yuumi, pretty standard with Ezreal. We'll see what Yasuo gets. I haven't seen a whole lot of Yasuo in the bot lane recent times, but some changes to some marksman items. In particular, the crit items might bring him back in the fold. Is it going to be Shen support? No, it's going to be Set support. That's a pretty strange one.
Definitely a scary lane, though, right? Yasuo say, you get pulled up, knocked in. Yasuo's going to be following through. I think if there are lanes that can deal with it, though, I don't think the Ezreal Yuumi is that bad, just because they can kind of get out as a unit, right? Ezreal's able to use the Arcane Shift, Yuumi on top of him, and they just kind of get out if the Yasuo is engaging. On the other hand, if one of them gets picked off, the other one's getting picked off too, right? Because they do go around together. So that's something to watch out for, but I think Equinox will do pretty well on this lane. I think you just kind of farm it out. You're never really going to kill the Yasuo set, right? But if you can get to a couple of items, then you can finally start winning those fights 2 versus 2 as Yuumi starts scaling.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a scary lane to be in. Obviously Ezreal Yuumi a very safe lane, but up against the 3v3 Hecarim Yasuo set, it's a lot of target access, right? Also a lot of burst damage to go along with it. In particular, I'm looking at dives. We're talking about level 6, maybe after that first dragon. A dive on the Ezreal Yuumi would be very, very lethal from Hecarim Yasuo and set. So we'll see if that plays out in that direction, but very well might not. But I'm interested to see how this Yasuo bot lane works with the new crit items. I believe that came through on this patch, right?
It did, yeah. A little bit more movement speed for those crit items. So not the grand changes that were kind of teased to us on the PvE a couple of weeks ago, but some extra movement speed was given to those. So Yasuo could be a little bit of a faster boy if he does decide to pick up that static shift, maybe a Phantom Dancer. Yasuo usually only goes one zeal item, though, just because he gets so much crit from his passive. So I'd still expect to only see one, but he'll be a little bit faster. So that should work out pretty nicely for him in this battle lane. I don't think there'll be a lot of fighting. I think Ezreal Yuumi is just a little bit too safe to fight. But if they do get dove early, like you were mentioning, I think they could find themselves just kind of losing the game pretty much immediately. If the Ezreal Yuumi finds himself just too far behind, then the Yasuo set, it doesn't even matter if the Ezreal Yuumi, gets a good fight, is able to escape a little bit. They're just going to get run down constantly. So I think they need to not get behind the curve, or they could find themselves in a very hard place.
Definitely. And, we kind of saw Imperial Knights have some fun with flex picks back there in game 1. They kind of got some flexible solo laners here again, but I think Akali mid lane Vladimir top is pretty standard when they're both on the same team. But, Syndicates kind of decide to go all in on the flex picks, right? I mean, barring Hecarim, I don't think you could have guessed any of these champions were going where they were going before this draft started, or before this draft ended. Excuse me. I mean, if I had to call this one, I would say maybe Annie support, Cassiopeia bot, set top, Yasuo mid. You know,
Wasn't to be.
yeah, something like that. But you know, this is definitely a comp. So, and not one anybody would have predicted, I don't think.
I do not think so either. This is kind of a wild comp from the Syndicate, but I'm not too big of an opposer to it. I think all these champions in their own right are very scary. Right, Annie's really annoying to play against. Hecarim just kind of seems to one-shot you. Cassio stuns you, blows you up instantly. Yasuo just dashes around, last breath randomly. Set is just broken at this point. So I think they kind of just have a nice collection of a bunch of good champions, and I don't know how well they're going to work together as a team. The champions specifically, not the players, but I think the champions they've drafted are pretty good. I think on the other side, for the Imperial Knights, you know, somewhat less broken champions. I like the Zac for that tanky frontline. Vladimir scales, Akali scales, Ezreal scales, and the Yuumi, of course, helping all of that out. So I think if the late game can be achieved here by the Imperial Knights, they should be in the clear, I would say. I would probably give them the advantage at that point. I also want to point out their split pushing could be quite strong if they have Vladimir and Akali in side lanes. That could be very, very strong, while Ezreal just kind of clears in the mid lane with some help from Yuumi. So something to watch out for. The Knights kind of have flipped the script from last game, where they were that early game focused team. This game, they're opting to go for a little bit more of that scaling.
Definitely, and Syndicate as well have a lot of good team fight potential coming through from their ultimates. It's a little strange though, and kind of the common thread between every champion on the Syndicate's comp right now is that they don't really have team fighting ultimates as much as they do like skirmishing ultimates. I mean, if you take a look at kind of the scope of these abilities, a lot of them are multi-target, yes, but in a very unreliable way. So probably more useful in a situation where it's a 2v2 or a 3v3 coming through, because things like Yasuo ult, Cassiopeia ult, very difficult to hit on multiple targets. You know, hard to get everybody to look at you at the same time in the same direction. Hard to nail everybody with the same tornado or knock everybody else, but everybody up at the same time, excuse me. Set ult, you're probably hitting 2 people max, and same deal kind of with Hecarim ult. So not at the same level as maybe a bullet time or an equalizer, but still some pretty solid team fight abilities here.
I think also at the same time in this team, there's just no knock-up assistance for Pure Salt. Other than OTGG coming through, like the rest of these champions, they have a lot of crowd control, but none of them have knockups. And I think that is something to watch out for as we go forward in this game. I also want to mention 3 defensive summoners in the bot lane for the Imperial Knights here. They have that heal, exhaust, and barrier on Ezreal. So I think kind of just proving our point that they do want to play really safe. I think they're just going to try to play to survive this lane, try as hard as they can to get some farm, maybe even sacrifice a few waves to try to just kind of stay on curve and get a couple of items for Equinox before they even try to do anything.
Definitely, yeah, and I think they just once again kind of a lot of situations that Ezreal's find themselves in season 10 is just like, you're the hardest scaling like thing on the map at the moment, and you're also one of the safest. Yeah, lean in, be really safe, wait till 30-40 minutes, and then just win the game. They definitely have the team comp for it as well. Cybersoul is going to be throwing a monkey wrench and any kind of snowballing hopes that the Syndicate have. Meanwhile, Vladimir also huge in the late game scaling. Going to be just sitting up in the top lane, staying on that island and farming hard as possible. Sai also going to be able to kind of get their team into that late game situation. So yeah, definitely leaning into the safety here for Equinox, but maybe not so much at level 1, kind of trying to make sure they don't get within range of OTGG. You mentioned it was just Set that had the displacement. I'm not sure if Xavian's charge counts. I know the Fear and Ultimate probably wouldn't count as displacement, but on the E ability, that might be a displacement.
I think you can actually. I forgot about that while I was saying that. So I think you can ult off that. At the same time, it's just not reliable, and it's not a big knockup, right? I mean, it's not a Malphite. You don't have an Alistar, something like that.
Yeah, and it doesn't disprove your point either that there's just not a lot of displacements on the team, because Xavian's charge is single target, which isn't great for Yasuo ults, because you're guaranteed to be ulting just one person, and yeah, I mean that's his only ability that has a displacement. So really, the only situation where Yasuo hits a multiple ultimate is if Zac is ganking, because he literally can't hit more than just Equinox unless somebody else is in the lane. Or B, later into the game during a team fight or something like that, OTGG uses Facebreaker to grab more than one target. So yeah, you're exactly right. It's going to be really hard for them to get Pure Salt some good ultimates. That said, it's not the only factor of play with Yasuo. I mean, it's not like the champion kind of lives or dies by their ultimate. It's obviously, super OP. If everyone on your team has a displacement, he could just proc it whenever he wants to. But also just kind of a strong champion with or without the ability to ult. So could be fine here. Might also be able to ult off of OTG's ultimate as well, which could be interesting.
Absolutely. Bit of fighting here in the bot lane. Xavian going very low here. Does not have flash. Remember, Cyphersoul decides not to flash after, maybe not aware that there is no flash available on the Hecarim, but Hecarim does get away from that, although was not able to steal the buff. I don't believe. Let's take a look here. Don't think so. So no blue buff stolen away for Xavian here. He might find himself in a little bit of trouble to this red buff, actually.
Yeah,
not sure if that's on camera. I'm not sure he can do that. But he's kiting it out at this point. So he's one more hit away. He's going to have to recall. Xavian put quite far behind by that early game.
That's rough. And, it would have been good if he was able to take the enemy blue buff there. But yeah, Hecarim has a really hard time clearing camps without blue buff. So taking the red buff, even at full health, would have been hard for the Hecarim. But yeah, with like an eighth of his health bar, whatever he had, almost impossible. And now I see him tracking back towards his red buff. This might be him just falling even further behind. I think you have to get the blue buff to really be able to get back in the game, but we'll see if Xavian's able to come back from this one. Did use Ghost to get out of that situation, so that he really doesn't have too many options now at this point if he gets into a skirmish with Cypher or in a lane, or really to be able to gank at all so far. So just kind of looking at hard farming, the only option, but both scuttles, I believe. No, just the bot side one is going to be picked up from Cyphersoul if they complete that one. They could go for the top side one again as well, but I think probably just looking for a gank at this point. He doesn't have a whole lot of good options for that, though.
It's got to be hard to track the Hecarim that almost died to his own red buff, right? So they may not know exactly where this horse is. So that could be an interesting turn of events here as we go forward. I have wanted to mention here for a couple of minutes, I think this game is just going to come down to who wins this early game, right? If the Imperial Knights get forced behind in this early game, end up way behind, I think they're just kind of doomed for the rest of the game. At the same time, if the Syndicate don't win early, I think they may just not be able to really come back in this, as there is just so much scaling on the Imperial Knight side, as we see a flash forced out from Enderfire. Nice elastic slingshot from Cyphersoul.
Yeah, and I think we just see Xavian just kind of hard farming, trying his best to take the camps. But remember I said he might have been better off starting with blue, because he started with red. He's got like less than a third of his health left. I'm not even sure he's going to be able to take this blue buff. We'll see if he can get onto it. But that, I don't know. Even with smite,
he'll be okay. He'll be okay. He should be good. But he's clearly very far behind here, healing himself up. But there's just no way to go for a gank now, right? He's just so low, and he's behind in farm. Just a Hecarim that just is not going to have a lot of impact early in the game, and he doesn't have Predator to assist with those ganks.
Yeah, I think he might die to that Gromp, but he'll be close too. He might have smite up again before that happens. But yeah, Hecarim anyway. I mean, he might be running from the Gromp here. I don't want it. It's gonna be close again. That was
he
wild,
survives.
He survives.
Wins.
Yeah, gets the level up, gets the health back there. But Hecarim, already kind of an opportunistic ganker, now does not have a lot of opportunities anymore, right? Especially with the health levels he's running around the jungle with. First dragon of the game has just spawned. Cloud Drake, so no Cloud Soul this game. Another thing kind of working against Zappy, which I think is hilarious. But yeah, so that dragon is up for the time being. No one seems too interested in it just yet. We don't really have like an early game, I guess, dragon soloing jungler on the map here between Hecarim and Zach. So we're definitely going to have to get some lane priority from somewhere to be able to take that objective. So that might be delayed a little bit. Someone like an Olaf probably just soloing the dragon right now or as soon as it spawns. But here we might have to wait till 7-8 minutes before either side makes a move. But both junglers top side, Cyphersoul might be looking for a gank.
I'm not sure they're aware of each other. Didn't see any pings go down, and they both kind of just walk away. So not too sure what happened in that situation, but they do step aside. And you were just saying you think it'll be a couple more minutes for the dragon. I would have to concur with that. this is just setting up to be a very slow game. Xavian got set so far behind, and Cypher Soul kind of wants to stack up the levels on his Elastic Slingshot to get a bit more range for himself. So I think we'll probably see a little bit of farming just for the next couple of minutes here as those junglers kind of Xavian catches up and Cypher Soul just kind of power farms for a little bit. Although ultimates are now available for the solo laners, so we might see some fighting. I would say most likely in the mid coming through, but everybody just seems kind of content to farm for now.
Definitely, and at some point, I think especially the Syndicate, kind of the bot side of the map, can really, well, they really need to sort of pull the trigger, and they definitely can pull the trigger earlier than Equinox and Psy can on their given champions. I think Annie has that potential to just be able to really all in Psy at some point, maybe before Psy could do the opposite, and really the same thing with Pure Salt. You know, well, you mentioned only one Zeal item, and he's going to have like 50% crit. That's way before Equinox will have anything similar. So, you know, I'm definitely expecting bloodshed here in the next couple of minutes, but it's going to be the Syndicate doing the engaging.
Yeah, you would have to think. Most likely, we haven't mentioned the cleanse yet on Psy in the mid lane, keeping themselves a little bit more safe up against that Tibbers from Annie. So should be able to cleanse out that stun. If it does come through, we'll see if Enderfire is aware of that, maybe misjudges that interaction a little bit. Cleanse, not the most common of summoner spells, so like to see that taken by Psy. I think that's a very smart choice. In this lane, as the top laners, a little bit of trading going on, but they can both heal up so easily, right, that it's just nothing really sticks.
Yeah, and both of them really just want to farm. I mean, the trading, obviously, you want to make sure you're not giving up farm for free, and that's kind of where the tradings come from. But I don't really expect either of them to kind of act on this trading. Like you mentioned, both of them can heal and kind of sustain, so it's kind of just, you know, part of their farming ritual to trade with each other, make sure they're not getting it for free. Of course, you got to make sure you're not taking too many bad trades to get these farm advantages like Toxic Vein might be doing at present time.
Seeing a bit of fighting. Nice petrifying gaze, dodged away by Stolen Waffle. Toxic Vein has the flash available, going to get pulled back in by Zach, and that's first blood going over in favor of Stolen Waffle. Nice gank there and a nice play overall to dodge away from that petrifying gaze. Trading in the mid lane doesn't go to a whole lot more. Windwall used out in the bot lane. Equinox able to get themselves away from that crowd control of the set.
Remind me, Carl, does Windwall block True Shot Barrage? Not 100%.
Yes.
It does. Okay, yeah. So that's maybe an interaction we'll be looking out for here moving forward. Basically, all the damage sources, I believe, coming from both Equinox and Saber's Waifu, all projectiles. So
yes.
that's pretty rough to get the good Windwall down.
Let's see a fight down here. Cypher Soul gonna get ulted. There's the last breath comes through. Has the passive available if they do want to fight. Let's Pounce coming through. True Shot Barrage ripping through the team. Pure Salt going very low. Enderfire picks up the kill onto Cypher Soul. Pure Salt trying to get away. Gonna get picked up by Psy in the end. Now running for his life. There's the ultimate coming through from set. OTGG gonna get taken out though in the end. What a great play coming through by Psy before their death. Final chapter coming through as well. Enderfire gonna get rooted up. There's the flash away to buy a bit more distance. Equinox could be on the chase, though the speed from Enderfire looks to be enough to get themselves away. And in the end, a 2-for-2, I believe, across the map.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, Psy, I think, comes out with the best results here, 2-1-0 on the Akali does go down for their sins, but I mean, you know, you got the most value out of the trade, and in my view anyway, so that's going to be difficult for Enderfire to come back into this lane. Psy's looking to almost have a level lead over Enderfire and experience as well. Just been in lane longer, I believe, at this point, just between the back and forth here. Cyber Soul looking for a dragon. Gonna find a hard time. OTG is here to stop it. Pure Salt not far behind either.
Equinox healing up at a rapid clip here. OTGG going to be taken out. Pure Salt trying to help his teammate out, but his teammate's already gone down, and this is kind of just a one-by-one running in here. Pure Salt going to find himself taken out as well. There's a double kill coming through. Tibbers goes down to pick up a return on Equinox, but Enderfire now going to get run down. You have to think by Psy here, going down to half HP. There is the Onslaught of Shadows coming through for a bit of a fear onto Cypher Soul. Can he get the heal from the Zoomies? No, he can't. Enderfire now on a killing spree. Has picked up that kill. Psy going to walk himself away from this, and a nice stop on the dragon there by the Syndicate.
Yeah, absolutely. If they can pick up the dragon off of this, it's going to be huge. They might have a hard time with that, though. I don't think they have the map pressure for it. They might be looking for it, but I don't know if they could actually take the dragon at this point. Enderfire with the Death Bush doesn't quite get the results they were hoping for.
Xavian on it, though.
Yeah, I don't think we pointed this out yet. OGGG on the Omnistone did have Predator there, so kind of spooky all of a sudden seeing that Predator come up. And yeah, Syndicate is going to pick up the dragon here now. So they are going to have the first dragon of the game. We'll see if Cypher Soul tries to trade back the Rift Herald. That's something we see a lot of the time, but you know, he is on that side of the map. Maybe we'll see him make a move for that objective. Hasn't done it quite yet. Enderfire here, looking at 301 on the Annie, making their way back into the mid lane in a big way. Take a look at the goal between the two champions. And yeah, Enderfire is actually about 150 gold ahead, actually closer to 300 here as they go for the reset. But yeah, I think it's going back and forth in the mid lane. But Roa completed by Enderfire, I think, is the biggest takeaway here. No Gunblade yet for Sai, so I think that's really what we're seeing playing in. And not good for Sai either, because Roa, an item that scales, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Both these mid laners kind of the beneficiaries of these map-wide fights, so it'd be interesting to see them go toe-to-toe, especially once that Gunblade is completed for the Akali. You'd have to think the Akali, the champion that's more able to kind of have a lot of outplay potential in these fights and more carry potential than Annie, who kind of just throws down a lot of burst damage and then is essentially just a minion. Until the spells come back up, Akali has a lot more, dynamic pressure and presence in team fights. So we'll have to see how Sai and Enderfire do play these. The top lane kind of been left alone for a while. They're pretty much just scaling up. Equinox might get engaged on a nice Arcane shift out as we move toward the mid lane. Let's bounce going in, but there is the Tibbers as well. Zavian's arrived on the scene. Enderfire very low. Might he survive this one, though? Walking himself out. When is that ability available for Cypher Soul? One more auto attack. Sai has to run for his life, though. There's the shutdown onto Enderfire. Sai desperately trying to get himself out. A nice E. Can he get away from Zavian? Zavian has to turn around. Sai, will he go back in? Might not need to. Is the Elastic Slingshot available? He's going to be going back in for this one. A 2-level lead now as he does level up. Oh, Elastic Slingshot going a little bit wide. OTGG has arrived. There's the exhaust going down onto him. Sai trying to go back in, but he might just go into his death. He gets feared up, able to get into the shroud to keep himself alive. There is the showstopper onto Cypher Soul, and it might stop his show, but it's not, because Equinox with the True Shot Barrage comes in, trades the kill back as both junglers go down.
Yeah, and both ADCs getting kills. Pearsall looking for number 2 here, able to pick up the kill onto Sai. Good look, making their way down the minion wave as the Asos tend to do, and picking up the kill onto the Akali. Very well done. Good roam from the Syndicate bot lane. They need to be getting plates, though, because I'll tell you that's what IK's bot lane is looking to do down there on that turn. Only 15 seconds left, though, so not much time. Looking like the Syndicate's going to pick up to 2 plates, and so does IK down the bot lane. So going fairly even, but in this case, Pearsall coming away with 1 extra kill.
There's just a lot of kills going over. It's only 1 kill a minute so far, and the fact that we say only, I think, says a lot about the Syndicate's games normally. But still, it feels like there's just been action constantly throughout this game. There's been a lot of skirmishing coming through, and that is now coming to fruition in the form of the Herald. Those advantages built up a little bit by the Syndicate, at least right now, in terms of map pressure. Enderfire now 1 versus 2 in the bot lane. Not a situation I would envy too much. Tibbers is almost available, though, so he should be able to repel a dive as long as he doesn't eat too many of these Qs in the face. By Ezreal going pretty low, actually, so he might have to watch out for himself. But yeah, the Herald has gone over in favor of the Syndicate. That should be nice for them. Should be able to break the mid tower whenever they want to.
Yeah, absolutely. And for the last, I would say 7-8 minutes or so, both teams in lockstep as far as the gold lead is concerned. It's been about 1K in favor of the Imperial Knights so far, but it's been that way for, like I said, like 8 minutes or so. So really both teams not wavering. Oh, Equinox
gets engaged on, does not have flash to keep himself alive. Saber trying to help his AD carry out. Equinox going to get knocked up once again by another tornado, and does go down. Saber under the tower trying to get themselves out. Actually will be able to do so. So only Equinox going to be falling in that. The flash expended by OTGG straight into the last breath, picking up the kill.
Yep, for sure. They do get that kill down, and now Pearsall, much like game 1, seems to be running away with the game. We'll see if he can keep it up this game, though. Eventually kind of giving it up there in game 1, but they are going to be able to take this bot lane tower, I do believe, and they're not contesting or anything. Might have to back off for the next wave, actually. But
in the mid lane, going to see a dive under this tower. Hate to cut you off there once again. Zavian going pretty low. He gets taken out straight away. Gunblade is now complete for Sai. Another engage. A nice flash from Cypher Soul to try to keep that CC on Enderfire. True Shot Barrage comes through. A nice cleanse by Sai to buy a bit more time for himself. Enderfire very low. Oh, and what a great E from Sai. Keeping his head in the middle of that fight, picking up the kill. In the mid lane, 2 kills go over to the Imperial Knights.
Yeah, both mid laners looking much more even than before, and really Sai pulling ahead here. I hadn't noticed with a 1,000 gold lead between the CS and the assists as well. Has a nice little gold lead there. Completed Gunblade. Most of that gold, the difference between the laners is now still in the pockets of Sai, so they haven't converted that into stats yet. And as they're looking for the dragon, the fight over the dragon might see Sai and Enderfire still on a level playing field, with Sai not able to spend that gold yet. And now we're going to see the fight here, Carl.
Teleport is coming through. Stolen Waffle has not channeled that yet. I should say Sai has to back himself off. This is a bit of a split fight. That teleport is now coming through. Cybersoul managing the front line. True Shot Barrage not available for Econex. Would be a good time for it, but he does not have that available. All 5 members are here for each team. That Dragon going very low. Should be going down. Does go over in favor of the Imperial Knights. Will this fight continue? Equinox stuck in the pit. Does have flash if he needs it, but this fight just kind of disperses. Everybody backs off, and the Dragon goes in favor of the Knights.
Yep, and that's 1 dragon apiece. The Soul here on Summoner's Rift tonight is going to be Infernal. We're seeing a lot of terrain get destroyed here, and really that plays almost perfectly in the hands of Xavian. A big kind of advantage that Cypher Soul had over Xavian is that they can jump over walls fairly easily with E. Xavian, to be able to move through walls, has to ult over them. So, but now that a lot of those walls are now destroyed, Cypher Soul doesn't have that advantage anymore. Xavian is free to just kind of run through the jungle. So a big advantage now for Xavian, who's going to be building tons more movement speed.
Yeah, for sure. This is an interesting ways that the souls impact the game, right? Is those little advantages for those different champions. As we see 4 men strong in the mid lane here for the Syndicate, I would expect them to drop the Herald here. There it does come down. We might see an engage actually though, as Cyber Soul does decide to go into this one. True Shot Barrage has come across the Annie very low, taken out straight away, eviscerated off of the map. Xavian sure to follow here very slowly, or very quickly I should say, not able to get the ultimate off, and it's just a wipe here for the Imperial Knights, picking up the fight 4-0 in rapid succession.
Yeah, no one wasn't even close, Carl. That was pretty nuts. But you'd think that these teams are a little closer just to take a look at the gold lead, 3.5K gold now. That's not too big, right? But yeah, like you mentioned, IK absolutely wiping the floor with the Syndicate on that one, putting 4 of them back into the fountain. They're going to take this mid turret as well. And earlier, I believe they're also able to take the top turret too. Toxic Vein looking worse for wear up in the top lane. So that's not looking good for the Syndicate upstairs either. I mean, at least Toxic Vein survived the ordeal, but yeah, not looking too good at all. Now, Enderfire has 6 stacks on the Roa, 4 more stacks to go until that's fully maxed out, but just doesn't seem to be making any kind of difference when it comes to Akali. And really, how this matchup is going to go is who's able to count out the anti-passive better. And at this point, it really seems like it's Sai. If Enderfire kind of pulls the wool over the eyes and is able to pull a fast one onto Sai, you always get that stun when they least expect it. But it seems like Sai has been doing their due diligence and counting those stuns out.
Absolutely, doing pretty well for themselves. I want to talk about a couple items that just came through if I have the time. Looks like I might not, though. Stolen Waffle trying to get himself out. Everybody backs off, though. I want to mention the Iceborne Gauntlet coming through for Equinox. Has decided to go for that, as there is just a lot of threat on this team, especially in the form of physical damage. Pure Salt and Xavian specifically, the ones that are going to be diving the backline. And so he's trying to keep himself a little bit safe and just have a little bit more spam coming through for himself. Also, the Warmogs has been completed by Cypher Soul, as OTGG looks to get a little bit aggressive here. Should be okay, though. So, yeah, the Warmogs has come through. Almost a Rabicap coming through for Stolen Waffle as well, so watch out for that in just a little bit more gold. He needs a couple more hundred, and he should have that. That's a huge spike for him. And the double crit items completed already for Pure Salt as well. He's got 100%.
Definitely. And Cyber Soul does have that overgrowth, which is letting him get to that 3,000 max health point a little bit faster. Course also has the Ruby Crystal, the Spectre's Cowl, and Cinder Hulk as well, is all getting them up to that 3,000 max health point relatively fast. I mean, it's kind of difficult to go first item Warmogs, even if you have the Cinder Hulk already, because you just don't have the max health to warrant it. But with the Overgrowth Rune and also Spectre's Cowl, you do actually break up into that 3,000 max health range. He's at 3,500 at the moment, so real big. Now, where he has fallen behind a little bit is in resistances. He's got the Spectre's Cowl, he also has Mercury Treads, but that's not really going to help him at all with Xavian and Pure Salt no TGG, right? Mostly he's just kind of worked on making himself immune to Enderfire and Toxic Vein, which is a noble pursuit, right? I mean, I think you want to itemize for the solo lanes for sure if you're jungling and get the ganks in, because those are your more reliable ganks. And oh, Sai going for the kill here, might actually get it.
Toxic Vein try. Oh, what a great dodge by Sai, getting away. The cleanse a little bit too early, but that extra resistance still going to keep himself safe for a little bit longer. He is going to go down here, you have to think, but able to buy himself a little bit more time. That Shroud shouldn't be available for a little while longer. I don't think he has the time to get that back up. He's going to go down, but a great dodge in the Onslaught of Shadows, picking up the kill onto Toxic Vein in the top laner, trading flashes, and he buys a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely buying a lot of time. Next dragon, 20 seconds. Looking like the Syndicate are going to be making a move onto that objective. Really not any way IK can make a move on this one. I mean, a lot of their gold was on Sai, 7-3-4 on the Akali. So it's going to be a difficult team fight to say the least. They do have quite a bit of gold on some of the other members, though. So this could be closer than I'm letting on. In particular, Cypher Soul is very, very high level.
Coming through. The Rabadon's death cap is completed for Stolen Waffle, so watch for that champion. Has Flash, has backline access for this fight. Flash is available for most of the carries in this game. Not for Sai, not for Toxic Vein. We just saw those burned. Sai is now coming from base, has just spawned, running into this one. The Dragon not started up yet, and these slows coming through are huge. There's the engage. Cypher Soul coming through. The final chapter on top of him. The Yuumi is there as well. The Annie going to get blown up. Has a nice stun. Enderfire can he keep himself alive a little bit longer. OTGG going very low as well. Has the Haymaker shield to buy a little bit more time. Stolen Waffle over the wall. Not a huge amount of impact for himself. Equinox has to get himself away. He's being chased down by the Cassiopeia. On the other side, the Zac has gone into the passive. There's the Showstopper back onto Stolen Waffle. That's a double kill though for the Vladimir, having a ton of impact on this fight. I'm just making stuff up earlier. That's a triple kill now for him coming through. Cypher Soul had to give his life, but it's a 4-for-1. They're chasing down on a Pure Salt. Ping's going down. He's not going to be able to get himself out of this one. Yuumi, with that prowling projectile, should be able to chase him down as they win the fight and move toward the dragon.
Wind walling the prowling projectile here. Pure Salt trying to get through the towers. Can he do it? And there's the execute. So wasting a lot of the Stolen Waffle and Saber's time on that one, but they do still lose the dragon, lose the team fight, and starting to look like they're going to lose the game. They're like, what, 6.7k gold behind? Yep. I'm not sure about that one, but somewhere in that ballpark. So not looking too good at all. Baron is up a little early for both sides. Cypher Soul and the Stolen Waffle and Sai as well, all level 13 now. So maybe starting to get into the realm of possibility where they could be looking for Baron, but none of those champions are particularly good at taking Baron. So maybe waiting for Equinox to get up on their level before they look for that objective might be a good idea. But, you know, it's always good to get some vision control over that area. You don't want the enemy team taking the Baron away from you. That's definitely something the Syndicate would be capable of as well. I mean, they have the Yasuo. They also have Toxic Veins. Very, very adept at taking Barons with the Cassiopeia. So they got to make sure that the Syndicate don't pull a fast one on them.
Don't want to get the wool pulled over your eyes. Sai might be trying to pull a fast one onto Toxic Vein, though. Toxic Vein has the ultimate. This is going to have to be quite the play if he's going to escape from this one. Sai going back and forth. Just picked up the kill. Cypher Soul actually gets the credit at the end of that one. But Toxic Vein just taken off the map, and that's a big loss for this team. Their split pusher kind of taken out. A lot of side lane control now given over to the Imperial Knights.
Definitely a lot of gold value from their team as well. I mean, 180 CS is nothing to sneeze at, even if you have no kills. So, yeah, giving up all that that gold value, not good, especially when we're talking about Baron buff. But there is considerable vision in the area, that side of the jungle for the Syndicate. So they will know, at least, if IK make a move on the objective. Whether or not they'll be able to stop it is a whole nother story. But looks like we got a pause coming out. And the pause Knights are back at it again.
That's what we're hearing in the chat. 80 carry, bit of a disconnection once again. So they seem to be a bit disconnected this evening, but might be their internet's disconnected. Their play is anything but. The Imperial Knights doing very well for themselves, synergistically wise here. A lot of good communication, a lot of nice combos coming through in these fights. I want to mention Stolen Waffle in that last fight. I said right at the start, he flashed over the wall, didn't have a whole lot of impact, and you know he didn't have that flash ultimate that you really look for on Vladimir, but he was able to get that down and just kind of rip through the team. They just weren't able to kill him. He had the Yuumi on his back, and it's just so much healing. You know, there's no healing reduction really. It's just Pure Salt on the Yasuo that has that, as well as the Nomicon actually. So tell a bit of a lie on that. It's just, you know, not even enough anyway if it's on him at that rate, and it is just the Annie that's able to put that down. So want to make sure that you have that healing reduction on Vladimir, but still you're cutting the healing in half of 2 people healing, and so you're down to like 1 person healing, and it's basically like Vladimir just healing by himself, which is already insane enough as it is. So a lot of regeneration coming through for that Vladimir, especially when the Yuumi's on top of him.
Certainly a couple of healing reduction items coming through for the Syndicate. Got Nomicon, Enderfire, and also Executioner's Calling on Pure Salt. So a little bit of reduction there, but you'd like to see it on a couple more. I mean, especially Cassiopeia, right? But
final chapter coming through. Enderfire just surgically removed from the map. There's another Elastic Slingshot coming through Cypher Soul. There's
Oh,
the
here we
showstopper, actually. Cypher Soul going very deep into the base. It doesn't even matter for him, though. Zavian has arrived on the scene, but Yumi keeping everybody healthy. Toxic Vein on the side, going to get taken out of this one. Equinox is now free, hitting Onslaught of Shadows, not going to do anything. Zavian now just trying to run for the hills, but he's going to be taken out of this one. Pure Soul going to follow very shortly. There is the ace coming through. 5-0 in the fight. Great engages by Cypher Soul, leading out of the jungle. Had Yumi on his back, and they pick up the kills.
Yeah, this could easily be game here. There's a lot of pretty good, pretty long death timers on the Syndicate, and all 5 members of Imperial Knights are in the enemy base at the moment, but also have like almost all their resources, so they could make that final push. Looking like they're going to play it safe here. Go for the Baron. Could be a good move. Could be beating a dead horse. We'll have to see, but they are looking for this Baron now, Carl. That vision that Syndicate had previously placed is being destroyed as Imperial Knights make their way to the Baron. Now, I don't think they're going to be taking this one. Maybe playing it like extra safe and just getting the reset in. I'll take a look at
They have a lot of gold.
Yeah,
they
almost all of them have more than 1,500 gold in their pockets right now. Sai in particular had almost 3,000, so they'll be able to complete almost an entire item there. We'll see what they build. Not huge on what Akali builds. They got the Morella, they got the Gunblade. Not really sure what else they would pick up there, but
Sai going in, finds OTGG there. He's saying, whoa, hello. Might go back to base. Might go for the Leandries, Rylai's, you know, some kind of a shred slash a little bit of crowd control coming through there for the Akali. We'll see what he goes for. I think that mystery will be answered here in just a few seconds for us. But I think it makes sense to go for the reset there. You don't need to rush the game. You're already up 1-0 in the series, right? So no need to like throw that game away. Just close it out, buy the book, go back. Void Staff has come through. Very disciplined choice there for Sai, getting through some of that MR on the side of the Syndicate.
Yeah, and they do have a little bit of MR. You got the Spirit Visage onto Zavian's Hecarim. Hex Drinker coming through from Pure Salt as well, so some MR for sure, but not a whole lot. I mean, especially on Toxic Vein, who is essentially just straight damage all the time with some mana on top. I'm starting to wonder if maybe this itemization was working against them. I mean, the healing reduction would have helped them a lot in lane against Vladimir, and it would have kept helping them and even helped them more so later in the game. So that said, it is difficult to itemize around Morellonomicon for certain champions, especially if you're Cassiopeia, who kind of really needs that Saracen Embrace, really needs Landry's Torment to be able to maximize that damage. So unfortunate there for the Cassiopeia.
Bit of an unfortunate engage as well. Hecarim, no ultimate now, no onslaught will be coming through. The Q's coming down. There's the engage. Actually, Cypher Soul going to go straight into this one. They want to take the fight. They don't even want the dragon. There is on a rampage. Sai has picked up that kill. Pure Salt not going to be participating in this fight. There's a showstopper going to take out the support. There's no more Yumi in this fight, but in the backline, Stolen Waffle doing huge damage for himself. Just full health. Equinox shifting forward. No. He's so confident on this one. Sai burning down a little bit from the poison. I think he will be okay. Toxic Vein and Zavian now on the chopping block. There's one. There's two. They are both taken out of this one. It is just OTGG that is left. There's nothing left for him to be done. There are minions in the base. There's the engage from Cypher Soul just to gain a bit of distance on the Elastic Slingshot. Warmog's healing himself up. They're going to push toward the base, and you have to think this might be the end of the game.
Yeah, I would assume so as well, Carl. This is very likely going to be the end of the game here. Both teams far enough away from the Dragon Soul to make it not really worth going for this dragon at this point. I'm pretty sure if you're Imperial Knights, you just push to end, but
apparently not.
Apparently not. They might be looking for the reset. Once again, every single member has plus 1,000 gold in their inventory at the moment, except Yumi just got the reset in, doesn't have the gold. So yeah, I mean, this is just bad to worse for the Syndicate for sure. That third dragon is getting picked up by Imperial Knights here at this point. We're seeing a couple resets come through, so we'll see in particular what the Stolen Waffle picks up here. Looks like they're going to complete Zanya's Hourglass. I don't think they had that in their inventory before. Also picking up a Blasting Wand as well. So yeah, that having the Zanyas is going to make this Vladimir a lot more potent, right? I mean, that's a huge tool for the Vladimir to use in these team fights. You're talking about flashing and ulting in. That Zanya's is going to ensure that the damage goes off, and also that the Vladimir makes it through the fight afterwards. Plus, it's just kind of a staple for Vladimir to be untargetable, right? I mean, that's where he does his best work. So
Player of the Ruin King also coming through for Equinox. Randuin's Omen has been completed for Cypher Soul. So a lot of big items now coming through for the Imperial Knights team, playing this one very much by the book. Teleport available for Stolen Waffle. I would expect to see them move toward the Baron here very shortly. Equinox might have to back away for just a moment here, as he might be outnumbered. Actually, Pure Salt could be outnumbered. Might have to burn the flash to get away from this. He might actually just look for the fight onto Equinox. Not sure how that's going to work out for him. Might work out quite well. Exhaust goes down to keep him alive, and Equinox is going to survive. The McHale's coming down. It looked like that might be lying about that one, but he does get the heal from Saber regardless, keeping himself safe, and they pick up the 1 kill. Pure Salt taken out.
Yep, taken out for sure. Baron not picked up by either team yet. Just kind of sitting there. It's really just Imperial Knights that have the map pressure to be able to take it, but they don't seem too interested. And it's the caster curse because now they're picking up the Baron, and they're going to be taking that one down. Zavian's in the area. Yeah, we'll see if he makes a move on it, but you know, it would have to be a miracle for them to take this one. Oh, True Shot Barrage coming through onto, Zavian's.
Sai's been dispatched.
Yeah, Zavian definitely.
Gets himself out. He's going to be okay. Sai going to go after him, but this Baron now pretty much uncontested here. Zavian's been fully run out of the area by Sai. So this Baron going to go over to the Imperial Knights. And you have to think it's going to just take them one more push. We've been saying that for a couple of minutes now, but at this point, it's got to be true, right? You take one more fight, you have the Baron, but you go win the game.
Yeah, they might be going for the record of longest game in the league, but you know, one would hope not. At some point, you got to pull the trigger and end the game, but now it's the Syndicate running away from Imperial Knights up in the top lane.
There's the engage under the tower. OTGG going to be taken out straight away. Not even able to use the ultimate. Cypher still going to keep bouncing forward as the tower has been taken down. Toxic Vein as well going to find himself under a little bit of fire. There's the elastic slingshot. Watch for that to come through in the top lane. There is the engage. Can he hit more than one? No, he can't. Only hits the one onto Pure Salt. Pure Salt going to be taken very low. Equinox under the tower, able to shift himself away from that one. Cypher Soul is just so tanky. These towers basically do not harm him at this point. He's taken outside. Is now dominating, and Stolen Waffle has arrived on the scene. He's going to be hit up by Tibbers a little bit, has to go to the pool to buy himself some time. Heals right back off. He's going to be full health in just the blink of an eye. Blink, and he misses on this one. The inhibitor going to be taken out as well. There are 3 members to defend OTGG in just a couple of minutes. The Knights have been very passive in this game when it comes to ending. Equinox has to shift himself away. There's the elastic slingshot going in as well. Toxic Vein very low. One more. Q will take him out. He goes down just to the auto attack, I do believe. Cypher Soul picking up that 1 kill as it is 5 versus 2 as a bit of a disconnection. Toxic Vein leaves the game on this one. Cypher Soul going back in. He's not even afraid of the obelisk. He's going to get almost pushed onto it, able to keep himself safe from that one. Has the passive as well if he is taken out. 5 versus 3 as well. That second Nexus Tower is taken out. Silence the E will go back in. They might just focus the Nexus down, and it's the Imperial Knights in just 2 games over the Syndicate here, taking out the Nexus. They go 2-0 over them, and they take the game.
Yeah, and Syndicate, you know, I would say drops a game in this series no matter what. I didn't expect them to get 2-0'd, but nonetheless, very close games. That second one towards the back half got fairly one-sided, but other than that, it was really both these teams lockstep for both these games. So very well done by both sides on this one. But yeah, I mean, Imperial Knights just had some killer drafts, had some pretty crazy pickups here, especially in that first game. The second game was a little bit more meta, a little bit more straightforward. But I know in particular the Azir Senna kind of threw me for a loop, despite knowing of its existence. I wasn't really expecting that one. So.
Yeah, definitely worked out though, right? I mean, you know, they had a pretty safe lane. I think not something that we'll see a whole lot, you know, as a standard pick, but I think a very nice pick in that situation that they found themselves in. So well played to them. I want to just praise Imperial Knights' cohesion as a team. I think in these games they played very well together. A lot of synergy from these players. They definitely, you know, in their draft, in their game, in every aspect of the game, they had a, you know, great draft throughout. They knew what they wanted to do. They executed on them. Their fights were cohesive, and overall, just a really well played game by the Imperial Knights.
Definitely, yeah, and you know, I think my biggest criticism for the Syndicate at this point would just be too many chefs, not enough cooks. I mean, you look at both of the comps, and it's hard not to see that there's no support staff here. There's no real utility or anything like that, no healing. It's all just damage. Everybody's trying to carry, and you know, it doesn't make for a solid comp, even though you have some individual success. At the end of the day, if the enemy team is just going to come together better for the mid to late game, you just won't be able to hang with them because you just have all damage, all weapons, and no shields.
Yeah, absolutely coming through. So very well done by the Imperial Knights, I have to think, throughout this game. And Pearsall, in the first game, ended up with a lot of kills, but it was just kind of the fleeting hope for the Syndicate. It kind of seemed throughout these games they were just, I don't want to say outclassed, but just they never really had a chance to win any of these games. There was a little while where Pearsall was fed in that first game where it looked like maybe they could come into it, but the Imperial Knights just never took their foot off the gas pedal. We criticized them a little bit for how slow they were to end the game in this game. But I think they really just want to make sure that they're able to finish out that game, right? They want to be able to close it out, make sure they're not throwing the lead away. And in the end, it worked out for them. So I think we can't criticize them too much for that. Throughout this one, they played very much by the book, very calm, made sure they were going to win this, and they did.
Yep, they certainly did. And it was a heck of a series, especially in Imperial Knights fans. I know we got a couple in the chat. I saw some earlier. So congratulations to those fans and to the team itself as well. Played very, very well tonight. And I'll kick it to you, Carl. You can take us out.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for us this evening. Thank you all for tuning in, coming out to support these two teams. For more information on Style Esports, and if you want to come chat with us or get information about the upcoming games, you can check out the Discord. That's the first link you're going to see below the stream. The website and the YouTube and a few music credits are hanging out down there as well if you want to check that out. But other than that, that's going to do it for us tonight. On behalf of myself, I'm Jarl Carl, along with Axeman87, Inti in the back as well, the voice in our ear, being our gracious host this evening. I've seen him in the chat as well. So thank you to him. On behalf of us all, thank you all so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Good night.